And now will be a good time to look back. This was a year which saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi's star rise to invincible heights, a landslide electoral win, an opposition in a shambles, and successive diplomatic victories. It was going great until it stopped. 2019 is ending with an unprecedented opposition to the Prime Minister's policies, not just at home but across the world. India's image has taken a beating. On Wion Edit tonight, we will discuss why. There's an old idiom, haste makes waste. This may be the government's problem too. The impatience to get things done, sometimes using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. You run the risk of crossing the thin line between decisive and dictatorial. It's not like there haven't been protests in the past. India is a democratic country. We have freedom of expression. People with all kinds of motivations, including political ones, have slammed this government in the past too. But when apolitical people, when the fence-sitters take extreme positions on issues that do not even affect them directly, then you know that something is amiss. Public protest and unrest has been the theme of this year. From Hong Kong to Chile to Lebanon and France, the might of the state has been challenged by the people. But governments outside do not comment on the domestic agitations in these countries. When they do, then the so-called internal issues become international issues. I'm saying this because India successfully took the world along on Balakot on Article 370. Even on Ayodhya, there was sensitization of the strategic partners. They either backed India or remained quiet. Why hasn't the same support been achieved for the citizenship law? And this is not conjecture. Look at the headlines. Ambassadors and diplomats from at least 16 countries have apparently expressed concern over the situation in India. They say that they were not briefed even once on the CAA and its ramifications. Now, the CAA is India's law, of course, an internal matter, like we like to say. And yet, foreign players are stakeholders. This law has international dimensions. India cannot dismiss critics by calling it an internal issue when 3 of India's neighbors are directly affected. The pushback was immediate. Bangladesh's foreign and home ministers cancelled a scheduled visit to India. A summit with the Japanese Prime Minister had to be postponed. The United Nations Human Rights Council called the law discriminatory. Others followed, and now the O.I.C is reviving the Kashmir issue. What is India doing? The government is playing catch-up. Misinformation and anti-government opinion is going viral. Unflattering images from the protests are hurting the country's global image. Statements from the government's own representatives are not helping their case. The BJP was once hailed as the master of messaging. Today, it is losing the narrative war. Because taking on a terror state is one thing. Taking on your own people is quite another. To discredit all critics as anti-national can be counterproductive. Moves like demonetization and Article 370 cause disagreement, but not this kind of mobilization. That's what we are seeing now, mobilization. And one of the biggest casualties of this will be the carefully nurtured global image of India. Because frankly, Delhi is not Beijing. It cannot brazen things out. It will have to take international partners along, whether we like it or not. A question mark on India's secular credentials is something that the government can ill afford. I want to end with this. Concessions are not a sign of weakness. They reflect pragmatism. They show a government that is willing to take everyone along. India may want to make a fresh start with the new year.